Hello, welcome to this very special forum on the elections in Nigeria 2015. There is a presidential elections coming up on March 28 and the governorship and other assembly elections happening on April the 11th. Nigeria is clearly the giant of Africa, an economy that is dominant in the region and in fact in the entire continent, with a population that is scattered all over the world and continues to grow. Nigerians in the United States have become a formidable part of the story of excellence and distinction by recent immigrants in these United States. And this special forum in Houston, Texas is being organized by the League of Nigerians in the Diaspora, LNID, U.S. Africa Multimedia Networks in Houston, Texas, and the Texas Southern University's Communications Department. It's my privilege and pleasure to welcome from my far left Professor Olowo Kore, who is a professor of engineering at the Texas Southern University, TSU. Prof, distinguished professor, we're delighted to have you, sir.
Thank you.
And to his right is Ben Amushie, an artist, a poet, and a screenwriter. Ben, we're glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
And to my immediate left is Dr. Abdulaziz Al Hassan, who is a medical doctor and a physician. We're glad to have you here. He's from the influential and famous Caliphate of Nigeria in Sokoto. We're delighted to have you, sir.
Thank you.
First, I'll go to Dr. Abdulaziz. Would you give us, for those who are not familiar with the dynamics of elections in Nigeria, what we're expecting on Saturday?
Well, Nigeria being a very important country, not only in Africa, but in the world, we expect a peaceful elections. We also expect all the citizens of Nigeria to exercise their right to vote for whoever they want to be their leader.
Ben, in terms of the competition for the elections, there are primarily two principal, if you will, contestants. The incumbent president, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, and retired General Muhammadu Buhari. What do you say?
Well, I think the election, the campaign they have run so far has been that of somebody who actually has the interest of Nigeria at heart. And we hope that they keep it up. And we hope that they inform and tell their followers to accept whatever the outcome is. And that's the most important thing in this election is whoever wins, let the loser or the person who comes up as the runner-up, accept and totally submit to the winner and help the winner to galvanize Nigerians and put Nigeria together as it should be. That's what I expect to see, and that's what will happen on the long run.
Professor David Olowo Kore, you're also the head of the Department of Engineering here at Texas Southern University. One of my friends who just came in from Nigeria, he's an insider with the ruling party, specifically said that whoever wins, that there will be a problem, whether it's Buhari or Jonathan, that the other side will raise issues. There are two things I want you to touch upon, sir. The issue of the permanent voters card, the PVC, and the likely outcome of the elections.
First of all, I believe strongly that there are just too many people who have stake in the welfare of the country called Nigeria. People say that if Nigeria develops headache, the whole of Africa, they're already having more than 100-degree Fahrenheit fever. And again, many people have said that any slight problem in Nigeria really could reverberate and affect the whole of the world. The Americans know this. There's no question about it. Nigeria is a key geographic location in the world, and people have said that out of six blacks in the whole world, one is a Nigerian. That tells you how important this country is. The option for crisis, violence, I doubt very much whether that is an option we want to look at. The option we want to be looking at is the aftermath of the election in terms of how the winner can work closely with whoever is the loser or in the house to ensure that this country continues to grow. But that is, I would say that's neither here nor there, but we have a common agreement that we don't have the option of violence in Nigeria. We've learned our lesson. We've learned it the hard way. There's no question about it. And I'm a diehard optimist that indeed this election will come and this election will go and people will work together to see how this country will continue to grow. The question of the PVC, that is this permanent voters card, it is nothing other than a novel way to ensure that people who want to vote are accredited properly. The PVC is nothing but a smart card. It's like a credit card, some picture. It has the biometrics of the individuals. And that's just to ensure that before you go in there to vote, that you are indeed what you claim to be, you are indeed the person that is shown on that picture, and that you are a legitimate voter. It is not an electronic voting. It is, again, a way to accredit the person who wants to vote. There's the temporary voting card, which really is not going to happen because there have been a lot of outcry against temporary voters card. But again, maybe later on we'll talk more about this, but just at this point, I will want you, all of us, to know that the PVC is not an electronic voting device. It is simply—
Is not what?
It is not electronic voting device. There's electronic voting whereby you don't use the traditional ballot paper. You know, that's electronic. You can even use your cell phone to vote. You can use some scanners. You can use some electronic device. A lot of countries do this, Australia, Brazil, and stuff like that. But what we are in right now is not, it cannot be categorized as electronic voting. It's simply the traditional voting, but just a way to ensure that, to minimize fraud.
But it is an improvement in what we've had in the past.
It is an improvement. It is definitely an improvement. I mean, data are banned all over the place to show that it is indeed an improvement. It is still, there still be some teething problem like any new technology, and we are going through that right now. But at this point, with what INEC is doing, it is very important that we don't confuse this issue of PVC as another electronic voting, which, I mean, each glitch, all kind of stuff can happen with electronic voting, and that can cause some chaos.
Since it's an area of interest for you, given your background as a professor of engineering,
Yes, sir.
Why do you think that the ruling People's Democratic Party was opposed to the active use of the PVCs, or kept trying to discredit the facility of the PVC?
Well, again, we know this is a new technology, at least as far as elections in Nigeria are concerned. This is a brand new. Of course, we are not breaking ground. It is a technology which is actually taken off of the shelf. It's not like we are inventing it. It builds on the INEC, or the people organizing this election, to be able to convince the two parties, to really convince them that indeed the PVC is nothing but a technology to enhance the voting pattern in Nigeria, to minimize fraud, to minimize rigging and whatever normally goes with voting.
What part of Nigeria are you from, sir?
I'm from Osun State,
Osun State.
specifically Elisha.
One of the new states.
Yes, one of the newer states.
Yes.
It's not new anymore. It's just a newer one.
Yes, it is not. And Ben?
No, I'm from Imo State. From Imo
Okay.
State, yes.
The Dr. Abdulaziz is also the medical director for the Galveston County Health District. I believe you would have heard about Professor Jega,
Yes.
who is the INEC chairman.
Yes.
How would you assess his performance so far in planning this election?
Well, before I say something, I personally know Professor Jiga. I actually had the opportunity to have, when I was going to college in Illinois, he was in a different college, I was in a different college, but we used to meet. And I know him to be a person of integrity, an honest person, a person that would not put his integrity into any foul play. And I think, and I sincerely think that he will hold the election as fairly as he can be.
This is the special forum on the elections in Nigeria 2015. We're going on a short break. We'll be back shortly. I am Chido Wangu. In terms of the issues in the elections, Ben, what do you see? Is it the repetition of the same arguments, or is there an expanded perspective on the issues facing Nigeria? And the second thing I want to ask you real quickly, do we see a collapse in regional perspectives on the issues?
Well, the problem with the election in Nigeria has always been that of the loss of actual information, real information. A lot of people grasp for knowledge. They want to find out what's going on, and they find out through the internet, where people who are posting stuff are not really honest about what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And so this generates a lot of chaos, a lot of misinformation about people. I've had Jiga has been fired. I've seen it several times. So many times he has been fired, so many times he has been removed and then put back, and then removed and put back again. But if you don't know how to kind of decipher all the noise from the truth, it becomes overwhelming. I think that's what is making it look like there's going to be a collapse. You see, this is rumor, is the noise that comes with election. It comes with a lot of things, a lot of people saying a lot of stuff. But on the long run, I think this election will hold, and I think there will be a winner. And what I pray is that the loser is not going to go aside and form a separate government and start all, this will pull Nigeria back 20 years.
So do you see regional perspectives in terms of the elections, or do you see a broader scheme of argument?
I think the person who would win would cross regions in order to win. I don't think it would be polarized a lot, like most people think.
What do you see practically?
I wouldn't say, one way or the other, but I think the overall result of this election would be that of an election that is fair and that is transparent, and that's all what we want. That's all we are advocating
asking for. All right. Is anybody here willing to take a position on who the likely winner of the elections will be?
Objectively, looking at the regions, looking at the state, looking at the country as a whole, I know there are no very significant polls that I can depend on, but if the numbers are what they're supposed to be, and if you're supposed to win 2/3 of the 36 states, if that still holds, then, and if the elections are held fairly, I think there's a possibility that Buhari might win. One, why? Because if you look at the states, the 36 states, well, before I even say that, whoever wins, which it could be Jonathan, it could be Buhari, have to win most of the northern states and have to win the southwest. Of course, the southeast is also counts as this.
And the south-south.
And the south-south counts too.
So in terms of the north, you see a preponderance of victory and advantage for Buhari.
That is correct. And in terms of the southwest, I also see that advantage for him.
In the southwest?
In the southwest.
Professor, do you see that in the southwest? From your calls and contacts, I'm sure you have people on ground in Osun State.
I know it's a very, very competitive election, and it's been creating a lot of apprehension. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think I've seen so many elections in Nigeria. There's none that has created so much apprehension as this particular one.
Yes.
So at this point, everything looks like a 50-50 kind of thing. It can go either way. And that's why I say it is a tough one to make a prediction. And granted that, you know, we are no politicians around here and we are not campaigning or anything. All things considered, with all factors put into consideration, you just can never tell what's going to happen on Saturday. It's a very, very tough thing.
It's interesting how politics and its dynamics play out. In the last elections, one of my friends, Dr. Chidi Amota, did an analysis where he referred to the Southwest as the Western bypass, that it wasn't a factor in the 2011 elections in order to produce a president, that you could get all the other parts of the country without bordering with the West. And that practically happened. But this time around, the West has become the center of activity.
The road to winning this election goes through, through the Southwest, that's for sure.
So it shows the changing nature of politics in Nigeria. You're from the Southeast. Buhari will be in Onitsha. He's in the East as we speak. He'll be in Onitsha, you know, for a meeting and campaign Tuesday, the 24th.
Well, I see.
Why is the Southeast not of any particular special reckoning in this election? Are they taken for granted? Or did they play themselves into being taken for granted?
I think the governor of Imo State joining APC was a major issue, because on the local level, a lot of people think he's doing good. A lot of people are with him. But I don't think they expected him to join this coalition, which he joined. And
why?
Because I don't think they expected that the coalition would hold. They didn't expect it to be successful. So they wanted to kind of bet for a sure factor.
No, rather than a hypothetical coalition, what are the sensitive, practical geopolitical matters of interest that underpin your concern as to why he would not join the coalition?
It wasn't because it was a lot of you know, I was in Nigeria in December. On the ground, a lot of people were seeing APC as a party that is not inclusive.
That is a northern party.
Right. It kind of is a northern party, kind of a little bit divisive.
I want you to be more specific that way. Mm-hmm. You know, so what are the other concerns you have?
The other concerns that I have, I criticize everybody because I critique everybody because of maybe that's the way I do things. APC for this and PDP for other things. and there are countless numerous other parties that I don't even remember all of them.
Okay.
But in any case, in this particular situation, APC would have done better if they have chosen, for me, Jiga. I mean, what's his name? Kwankwaso.
But we're running a different election.
Right.
The man on the ground is Buhari.
It's Buhari.
In terms of the history of alliances, the North and the Southeast have always played it together. So I'm trying to understand the basis of your concern as to the strangeness of a governor having a relationship with a predominantly Northern-dominated party.
It's just a concern that he might not. He played a game at the beginning by going to fight for the election, trying to be the presidential candidate, but then reserving a post to still run for the governorship election. So that was a concern.
Okay.
That was one of the things that people didn't like a lot, and that kind of made people realize that, okay, if you're doing that and the party allows you to do that, is that party a good one? Is that it? So they had a little bit of a concern there.
Okay.
But I don't think they have, I think they have come all over all that. Now is Buhari, now is Jonathan. So the choice is like I was saying,
I'll ask you again, why should somebody from the Southeast not support Buhari and the APC?
I don't think they shouldn't support them. I mean, in Nigeria, it's a free and fair election. If you want to join a party, you join a party.
Okay.
But I don't think they would win in the East.
Thank you, distinguished Professor Olowokere Ben Amushie, Dr. Al Hassan. We'll be right back in a few minutes. We're talking about Nigeria, the elections of 2015, the dynamics, the implications, and all the issues important. Chido Nwangu here. This is Chido Nwangu, founder, publisher, US Africa, Houston, Texas. Special forum on Nigeria's election 2015 with the members of the diaspora, co-sponsored by the League of Nigerians in the Diaspora, US Africa, NBC Television, and the Texas Southern University's Communications Department. I have a panel of distinguished gentlemen. To my immediate left is Dr. Al Hassan, who is medical director for the Galveston County Health District. He's also a family physician. Dr. Al Hassan, it's nice to have you again.
Thank you.
And to his left is Ben Amushie, a poet, artist, and screenwriter, and a commentator on public policy issues. And to my far left is a distinguished professor of engineering, head of the Department of Engineering at the Texas Southern University, Professor David Olowokere. Sir, we're delighted to have all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As we were discussing before the break, we have at least 7 candidates, but we have 17 candidates, but 2 major aspirants who are running on Saturday. Dr. Al Hassan basically has stated that Buhari has the advantage and the edge with his looking and analyzing the demographics and the numbers of the votes likely to happen and the allocation of percentages that they're also projecting upon. Between Ben and the distinguished professor, do you see a different advantage for the president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan?
Well, I do. I think he has started charting a course that need to be sustained. And in Nigeria, as I saw it the last time I was there last December, it appears that we abandon projects that were started by the previous administration so that we can establish our own. And this is a very, very costly thing to do. If we change course now that Jonathan has started charting this course, it's going to be, I think it will be devastating. That's why I think Nigerians will not vote for Buhari. I don't think they will.
So it's not a case about the competence of Jonathan, but that of the issue of continuing the... Do you have a different perspective, or are you making the same argument?
Well, my position is that from what I've seen so far, I've not seen a lot really, but there are certain areas where the present president had actually carved a strong niche within the Nigerian infrastructure. I look at the marine. I just happen to know what is going on between the...
Can you speak up a little louder?
The marine industry in
Yes.
Nigeria, the maritime industry.
Maritime.
And I've seen certain development that the president had put in place in the area of maritime.
Sure.
I've seen what he has done in terms of relationship between the maritime industry in Nigeria and maritime industry in different parts of the world. And I've seen what he has done in the area of creating a sister relationship between the Nigerian airport and some foreign airports. And I know that they are about signing some agreement with the port of, with the airport here in Houston. And of course, the port of Houston, which is the largest airport, the largest seaport in the world. But the reason why I say that, I don't have the credential to say I know a lot. But the little that I've seen, I think that the current government, given the chance, they could complete a couple of international issues that need to be completed. You know.
Okay. So, Doctor,
Yeah.
is it sufficient that we do continuity?
No, it's not sufficient. Well, first of all, I disagree, not on everything, but I don't see what Jonathan has started for the country. Besides, he mentioned the maritime, yes, maybe he did. But in terms of the economy, which is very, very important, our economy has gone down. There's a lot of unemployment in Nigeria. There was a time where when apparently there was an advertisement for people to go and apply for custom jobs, and the applications were thrown to the applicants as if it's piñata. You know what piñata is? Piñata is when the Mexicans, they hang something during a party. The kids come around, they hit the, whatever it is, the candies drop down, and they struggle over it. That's just how they did.
So you
a
say
lot of
they
people
shouldn't eat candies? Is that what?
And no, I'm saying that it wasn't the right way. They went to the stadium and said, you come and apply. People went over there. People died. A lot of people died. Picking applications, this is something you could apply. At this modern time, they could have sit in their own houses and apply for these jobs online. I think Nigeria is in a position where that should have been possible instead of just going this thing down.
but that doesn't.
What is the biggest?
That doesn't warrant the change of course.
Well,
in a government.
Well, it may not do, but when Jonathan came to power, Nigeria had some money in our reserve. Okay, I'm not saying Obasanjo is an angel, but he paid our debt. He left some money in our coffers. Now the money is gone. The Naira was stronger then. Naira is up to nothing now. A lot of unemployment, insecurity, a lot of kidnapping. Boko Haram is going on there. He's been in power for 6 years. He said, give me 6 weeks to deal with Boko Haram. You couldn't deal with this in 6 years. How can you deal with it in 6 weeks?
What is the case for Buhari? why should Nigerians look at Buhari as an alternative?
Okay, this is why we should look at Buhari. One, he's been there before, and I think he has the capacity to deal with corruption, which is very, very important because there's just so much corruption and so much loophole in Nigeria that can you believe that we sell oil for 20 billion? We didn't put it in the Nigerian Central Bank. We couldn't account for it. No accounts of anything. But I think that Buhari can solve that.
So at what time? Under whose tenure?
Under the current government.
Jonathan's?
Yes. There's no account for our oil. We don't know how much oil we sell every day.
The problem with that is, like you've said, we've seen Buhari. Yeah. And that should be enough. I mean, somebody who has run for election 3 times and we said no. We said no once, we said no twice, we said no 3 times. So are we stupid? I mean, what is it that... I think he shouldn't have come out again. If I tell you, don't come to my house, don't come to my house, don't you come to my house, and then you come again? Yeah. I don't see it as being a wise thing to do.
Abraham Lincoln ran for elections, I believe, a dozen times.
Yeah, but you would have to go back. You would have to go back in ages in order to find that.
No, I'm saying, is there a limitation on somebody's right to run for election?
No, there is no limitation for somebody's right to run for election. But for me, if you knock at my house, I tell you, go, I don't want to see you. You knock again, I say, go, I don't want to see you. You knock again, I say, go, I don't want to see you.
What if
you knock again, I would think that you have a problem with understanding my language or anything.
What if you had a change of heart?
If I have a change of heart, I will invite you to come.
Okay, very seriously, the issue of the contrast between Buhari and Dr. Jonathan, the fact that Buhari ruled as a military dictator has been a major problem and concern for different persons. Mm-hmm. The issue also that it has been suggested he's quote-unquote sympathetic to some of the conservative strains of
Islam,
mm-hmm. and then the militant, oppressional efforts of groups like Boko Haram. I have not said, I will not say that he's a sponsor or he's a godfather or whatever, but that he is making arguments that excuse and are exculpatory of some of the activities of Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Do you have those concerns?
Well, I do have those concerns, but Obasanjo recently said, about a week ago, that Boko Haram, the issues they have, are something the government have to look into. He even said that in the end, whoever rules, whether it's Jonathan or Buhari, they have to negotiate with, they have to sit down with Boko Haram and talk.
Why should they sit down with Boko Haram? Do you think they should sit down with Boko Haram?
I don't think so.
Engineering.
I don't think so, definitely. Sitting down with them is more or less legitimizing what they've been doing over the years.
Your voice is dropping again, sir.
I don't think so. I'm going to say it loud and clear. I don't think anybody should sit down with Boko Haram to negotiate or even talk with them.
So Obasanjo is wrong in that position?
Well, my own opinion is what I'm expressing. If you want to imply that it's wrong, so be it, but I'm just saying exactly what I feel, that it is crucial that we don't allow a sect to want to create another republic within an existing one. I mean, we do not need an Islamic state within a country which is supposed to be secular.
This is the special forum on the elections in Nigeria 2015. We're going on a short break. We'll be back shortly. I am Chido Wangu. Welcome to the third segment of our special program on the 2015 elections in Nigeria, the Diaspora Forum, looking at the dynamics of the elections, the likely outcome, the aftermath of the elections, and the issues concerning the elections. In the assessment of our distinguished professor and many others, we will go to the audience to take some questions.
I'm directing my question to Dr. Al Hassan.
Yes.
I've heard you, throw some kind of predictions how the election is going to go, and you were, looking at Buhari maybe winning. The question I'm asking to you is two questions. One, why does Buhari feel like he needs to come back and rule again when he's been there before? And then two, would he be willing to accept defeat and join a coalition to build Nigeria instead of tearing it apart?
First of all, he has the right to run as many times as he wants to. He's a citizen of Nigeria. The Constitution does not bar him from running, and he's exercising his right as a citizen to run for presidency. Your second question is, remind me of your second question. If he wins, if he loses, will he? I expect him to, and he has said it openly, that if he loses, there's not going to be any call for people to fight or anything like that. And I expect him to, as a statesman, to accept the results of the elections.
One of the strongest criticisms that have been leveled against the former dictator, Muhammad Buhari, is that when the last time he was the president of Nigeria, a lot of violations of individual civil rights took place. The false, a stipulation that Nigerians must behave a certain way as if they were animals, that you have to stand in queue, you have to do all the stuff. And also the fact that he never believed in democracy. Most people consider him not a Democrat, that he's an extremist. And that after the coup that overthrew the former President Shagari and his vice president, Dr. Alex Ekweme, he arrested Ekweme and put him in jail for 13 months. Okay? And while Buhari, the Shagari was put in presidential house arrest. So there are so many other factors, including when he was head of PTA, the way that he managed that fund, the fact that the majority of the projects that were executed were done in the north, and there were no balance in the way federal money was used. So if you want to explain to the people, the audience, why is Shagari a changed person? Is he not the same Shagari that ruled with iron fist? Buhari ruled with iron fist. Is he different from the Buhari of today?
Okay. Well, let me start with the premises of all of us being human beings. We all have our downfalls, and I sincerely believe that people can change. The fact that he was a dictator doesn't mean that he could not change. We have a constitution which he has to abide by it. So whether he likes it or not, if he wins, he has to abide by the constitution. Now, you can't change the past, but you can change the present and the future. And I think if he wins, he has to abide by the Constitution. If he does not, well, the citizens can use the Constitution against him. He can be impeached. He can be imprisoned.
Okay, and for Jonathan, and I think for Jonathan, can any of you tell me one of the strongest suit of the current president, why he should be re-elected?
One of the main reasons why he should be re-elected is that democracy has to continue. With the election of Buhari, Nigeria, I think, would face a split, a rift in the fabric of the society. Because if it is Buhari that we know, what he would do is arrest journalists if they criticize him, because they will. I can guarantee you journalists will. Because you look at what is happening to Jonathan, they criticize him all the time. They talk about his wife, they talk about his children, they talk about everybody around him. He hasn't arrested any of them.
Even if the leader is good, the people surrounded are terrible. Either you support Jonathan or you support Buhari. What can the world do to change these people, including us that are here?
What the country needs to make things change, that is infrastructure development, security, and even employment, education. The country does not have to start from scratch. The country, we are not starting from scratch. I say that again. We are not breaking ground. What we need had already been developed for us. We just have to pull this off of the shelf and use that to better the life of our people. We need a leader that can actually tap into what is out there. And I kept saying that so many times that we are just so lucky, but we just don't take advantage of what we have out there waiting for us to get our people in the best way possible.
Nobody has addressed the suffering of the people in the South, but yet we are focused on how we're going to divide the revenue from the backs of these people living in the South. Can any of the panelists address this?
There is going to be a need for us not to even think of the South-South getting out of Nigeria and then Nigeria is no more economically. South-South will always be part of Nigeria, and Nigeria continues to identify other areas in the country where there will be mineral resources, oil and all kind of stuff like that. Gas, of course, there's so much gas in Nigeria right now. So the answer to that question, to conclude, is simply for us not to look at a very, very negative thought that South-South will pull out of Nigeria. We should be looking at how the Nigerian money, the oil money, could be used to develop that area where that oil keep coming out.
But we have Goodluck Jonathan that on national TV, he claimed that stealing is not corruption.
Okay, if the president said that, he's wrong.
Next question.
Corruption has been a bane of the country, as was said, over time. Could it be these people that are behind the two leaders are actually promoters of corruption?
If Jonathan can get a good team, which he did initially, but some of them, well, they have their downfalls. Or if Buhari gets a good team, which Nigeria is a very rich country in resources, human resources, one of the best in the world. And I sincerely believe that any of the two, if they get a good team, Nigerians that are dedicating to work and build that country, they can bring that country to the highest level that you can imagine.
Thank you very much for the input from the audience, the questions, and the answers from the Dr. Al Hassan, Medical Director for the Galveston County Health District, also a family physician. We're delighted to have had you this evening, and thanks for your very great insights.
It's a pleasure. And
Ben Amushie, a poet, an artist, a screenwriter. We thank you for your contributions and for standing up for the president.
It's my pleasure.
And the distinguished Professor David Olowokere, who is the head of department at the Texas Southern University. We're delighted to have had you this evening. And to my colleague and friend, Professor Chris Olasi, who facilitated this special program, the Texas Southern University's Communications Department. We're very delighted, and the NBC TV also for your contributions. We appreciate you. And all the members of the board of the League of Nigerians in Diaspora, Dr. Olagundoye, and the rest of them. We're glad we were here. My name is Chido Nwangu from US Africa here in Houston. Stay blessed.